Welcome back to the Arcania, guys. First off, I'm gonna apologize if you hear my neighbor's dog barking. I have the windows open. It's like 80 degrees in the house. I'm dying. So, where we left off was talking to Portia, and then we went to sleep. So, slippery hands for one thing. We already did all this. So I'm just gonna skip ahead if you guys want to recap. Rewatch the very end of the last episode. This is where we left off. I can't sleep. This is torture. Every insomniac ever. After the day-long climb to the palace, I finally have a chance to rest. But whenever I settle into the embrace of sleep, I'm tugged back to consciousness. After writhing around for a while, I sit up frustrated. When I do, I can sense the faintest whiff of magic in the air. The direction from which it's coming is the door. Quietly, I slide out of bed. I slip my shoes on and retrieve my bag from the floor. I may need my things. Taking a deep breath, I turn the handle of the door and emerge into the brightly lit hallway. There isn't a soul in sight. Good. I must have wasted a few hours tossing and turning. I shuffle down the hall, trusting my senses to lead me. I make a few turns. Each time I have no doubt which way to go, until I reach a fork and the trail goes cold. No, that's not it. The trailer's hot. From both sides. So should I make a right decision and go to the right, or should I make a potentially correct decision and go to left? I'm going to say left. The leftward hall leads me into a balmy veranda, bathed in starlight. Below I see the gardens, shady and lush. From up high I can see that the middle forms a maze of greenery. At its center there's a clearing. I know at once where to go. Silently I descend into the garden path, shrouded in a warm breeze. Quieting my thoughts, I listen to the night birds and let my intuition lead me through the maze. Oh, that's pretty. Is it a selkie or a kelpie? I don't know. As I near the center, the musical sound of falling water grows louder and louder. I reach a fountain. Around it is a wide, gazing pool, and overhead a rich old willow tree. Hanging from the tree is Faust. What on earth is she doing here? And if she's here, could he be here too? She flicks her tongue, hovering over the gazing pool. The gleam in her eye says she wants to show me something. I take a seat in the edge of the pool and lean over to peer into the reflective water below. The longer I concentrate in the shapes within the water, the more they change. Colors too faint to see start to deepen. Shadows start to twist and form. Before I know it, my reflection is fading away, and in its place, I see Azra, drawing water to his face and drinking deeply. Each drop that trickles from his hand sends ripples through the image as it strikes the surface. I am so shocked to see him that I can only gape silently, afraid that any sound will break the spell. Then he shakes out his hair, blinks the water from his eyes, and looks straight at me. Kitty? Azra looks as surprised as I am. He leans forward, close enough that I can see the droplets in his lashes. Can you hear me? I nod, barely able to believe it myself. If this is no spell of his, then how did I? Incredible. He laughs. I can see now that he's sitting cross-legged, probably beside a pool. His mount, the strange beast from before, is lying beside him, resting its weighty head on his knee. Ah, there's Faust. Looks like she found you all right. I wasn't all that sure about leaving her, but after that reading you gave me, I thought I'd trust my intuition. Well, I'm glad she's here. I glance up at Faust, still hanging from the branch. She looks very proud of herself. Now that I'm over the shock of finding her, I'm beyond relieved to have her near. In the reflection, Azra looks pretty pleased with himself, too. Makes me laugh. I'm glad you're here, too. His face flushes, and the beast on his knee gives a rumbling snort. Where is here, exactly? I know that tree. Are you at the palace? Who recognizes a place by a tree? Changing the subject. How typical. I tell him everything that's happened since we parted. The more I speak, the more his eyes glimmer with keen interest. Unbelievable. The day I leave was the day you needed me the most. And yet even then, you really didn't need me at all. But I'm glad Faust is with you, at least. I would guess that she had something to do with this. If anything happens to either of you, I know. I can live with that. The beast on Azra's knee groans, blinking awake and peering up into his face. Ah, looks like we've rested long enough. We have to go, but I'm really glad I got to see you. He rises and with one last glance moves out of my view. The lumbering beast shuffles behind him. My only warning is the roaring wind before the image is enveloped in a storm of rust-colored sand. When it clears, the water is still, and I see myself reflected with Faust by my side. That place. Where was he just now? It looked familiar. That copper sand, and the creature beside him. I realized they are the same in my dream. So what was a vision then? I'd forgotten all about it. The stars must be aligned in some powerful way. But more than that, Master told me once that anyone can perform a magical act. Magic is what you do to make the outcome you desire become reality. So, was it my desire to see him? Did my magic reach out to him, wherever he is? Or was it the other way around? Could be both. Mind racing, I rise to my feet. Faust watches me attentively from the tree. I beckon her to follow. Getting to my room unnoticed is going to be a challenge. Steeling myself, I turn back toward the palace. As I go, I listen to the birds' echoing calls and feel the weight of eyes on my back. Many eyes, from every corner of the garden. This place is teeming with life. That snake has gotten much bigger. I need sleep. The rustling leaves sound too much like whispers. Hastening my step, I retreat up the stairs and slip back inside. Emperor Day. I'm walking down a black stone path, whipped by wind and rust-colored sand. Thick, dark clouds hanging o'erhead are heavier than before. Before, I'm dreaming again. Then, where is Azra? The unforgiving wind burns my eyes as I search the desolate landscape. Up there, ahead of me, too far ahead to reach, I see my teacher and the lumbering beast. Calling out is useless. I have no voice. But they're standing still side by side, and as I look harder, I can see that they have stopped at a fork in the road. One way goes east, the other goes west. Azra dismounts the creature, placing a hand on its hide. A lingering look, and it turns down the path to the east, disappearing into the tempestuous sea of sand. Azra turns to the path on the west, and I know at once he's going the wrong way. Not that way! Not again! His head turns. Even from the uncrossable distance, I feel our eyes meet. I'm going to let him make his own decisions. He's a grown man. He can do what he wants. He drops his gaze, turns back, and continues down the westward path, fading from my sight. I'm calling after him even as my dream is swallowed by sand. Sunlight tickles my face. I open my eyes with a groan. Morning, kitty. I scramble backward in bed. For a moment, I have no idea where I am. And then I remember. The room is so fine I could only be at the palace. Portia busies herself with the curtains while I get my bearings about me. What a lovely sunrise. Did you sleep well? I hope the dogs didn't wake you last night. Something set them off. They were causing a ruckus. Sniffing around the garden of all places. I was afraid we had an intruder. Wouldn't that just be exactly what we need right now? She laughs, oblivious to my shifty gaze. Well, I didn't find anyone. It's a good thing, too, because all I had on hand was a shovel. That could have gotten ugly. Anyway, breakfast will be served shortly. I'll let you freshen up and then we'll head over. By the way, the Countess has requested that you bring your cards with you. I sit up at that, fully awake. Ah, these are for you. Portia sets a neat pile of clothing on the bed beside me. I unfold the top piece, marveling at the way the fabric moves. I hope you don't mind. I have explicit orders not to make sure you're not wearing the same thing you were wearing last night. I blink, glancing over at my old clothes. They might be looking a little worse for the wear. I'll give you some privacy. Portia ducks out the door. I move the silky garments aside and toss back my bed covers. I'll wear the new clothes. I disrobe and pull on my new outfit, fumbling with its delicate clasps and buttons. The fabric flutters around my limbs like a gentle breeze. It feels as though I'm wearing nothing at all. I retrieve my bag, peeking inside to make sure Faust isn't hiding there. No sign of her. Sighing, I pull the bag onto my shoulders and I step into the hall. Ooh, don't you look nice? The Countess is a real eye for fashion. She'll definitely be pleased. Let's not keep her waiting, shall we? My chest swells with confidence. Fighting back a grin, I follow Portia to the dining room. And there goes Beaker from the Muppets in my brain. Yep. That's the only time you're ever going to hear me do that. The room is bright, far more welcoming than before. Servants are bustling to and fro. The Countess is already seated when I enter, and she appears to be nursing a headache. She spares me a brief glance from beneath her hand, cradling her forehead. Good morning, Kitty. I trust you had a pleasant night's sleep. Well, I had an exceptionally miserable one. The dreams were vivid, enough to frighten me awake, and yet I cannot remember any of them. And then, of course, the dogs were feeling active. Hello, Portia. Coffee, milady? Oh, please. A nod, and Portia goes to a gleaming golden contraption nestled in the far corner. The Countess strokes her temples and lowers her hand from her face. The full force of her gaze falls upon me. Ah, you've changed. Is that the ensemble I sent down? My, the difference is astounding. One would hardly recognize you. The fit appears to be correct. Those garments you came with were most unkind to you. Under her shameless scrutiny, my face starts to prick with heat. Who would have guessed you were so becoming underneath? Ah, and how nicely these colors complement your tones. I do have impeccable eye, don't I, Portia? Impeccable. As if a servant's going to disagree. A sumptuous egg dish is placed before me, drawing my attention. Meanwhile, the blue-feathered servant from last night bustles to the Countess's side to report some goings-on. I drown out the chatter and focus on my meal, marveling at its delicate texture. And yet, my eyes keep flicking to the painting on the wall. It feels as though it's watching me. Well, you may tell them that they have no choice in the matter. Will that be all, Your Grace? That will be all, then. Now then, Kitty. The Countess's voice shakes me from my thoughts. I understand you have your cards with you? Cautiously, I pull my satchel up from the floor and into my lap. Splendid. Please, come closer. Servants promptly relocate me to a seat at the Countess's side. This is the closest we've been since our first meeting. It almost makes me nervous to breathe. First and foremost, in 13 days we will be celebrating the Count's birthday. Preparations, as you know, are well underway, so I must ask you to be expedient in this. It is not my intention to rush you, but by the time the day is out, I will need to know whether you intend to cooperate with me. Unless, perchance, you have decided to do so already. We're gonna go with her because I really don't want to piss her off. Yes. The Countess's weary visage blooms into a satisfied smile. A wise choice. I'm pleased to hear it. If you serve me well, you will have my utmost gratitude. And, of course, a generous reward. I perk up at the mention of this reward. So much has happened, I'd forgotten all about it. That eager face will be my undoing, and yours as well, if you do not learn to master it. Together we will make a fine team. Our forces combined are quite formidable. You and I, my guard, and those cards of yours. Her gaze falls pointedly on the bag in my lap. I'm compelled to pull it closer to me. Instead, I retrieve the desk from its hiding spot and place it hesitantly on the table. The Countess's eyes flash with interest. She smiles, looking out the window with a musical sigh. It is a glorious morning, a new day. Sorry, that first line. Oh, look, another glorious morning. It makes me sick. For those who haven't watched Hocus Pocus, go do so. Awesome movie. I trust my fortune will have changed. Read the cards for me again, Kitty. I would like to know what they have to share on the heels of this fortuitous news. I start shuffling. As usual, the feeling of my master's deck in my hands is a little unnerving. The cards leave a faint tingling sensation on my fingertips, distracting but familiar. It helps me to empty my mind. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Pick a card and don't let it show. The Emperor. And what does he say for me? I peer into the face of the card and I listen. You've proven your wisdom, your intelligence, your ability to rule. Your lessers no longer hesitate to bow before you. Where there was doubt, you have built trust. Where there was chaos, you have made order. When your will is done, this city will sing your praise to the stars and celebrate as it never has before. There is a collective fluttering oohs and ahs. I hadn't realized the servants were watching. Their faces are radiant with delight. Portia has her hands clasped at her heart, and yet the Countess looks unimpressed. She lifts the card from the table and examines it with a neutral eye. Well, that is all very good of him to say. Abruptly she stands. Servants snap to attention. Kitty, would you care to join me for a stroll? There is something I would like to show you. Like a flower unfurling, she extends a graceful hand to me. It takes a moment for me to realize I meant to take it. Awkwardly, I place my hand in hers, and she pulls me to my feet. Her cool touch slips away, and she breezes past me. Come, I suspect you will be very glad you did. Hastily, I gather my cards and return them to my bag, slinging it onto my shoulder. But she didn't give back the card that she had. She had the card in her hand when she got up. Portia? Coming. I fall into step behind the Countess, and we exit into the hall. The Countess's steps are effortlessly swift. It takes some effort to keep her pace. I don't pay much attention to my surroundings until they start looking familiar. Our path leads us past the marble staircase. I find myself searching for the stairs as we pass. No dogs this time. Perhaps they're curled up in the shadows or out of sight. The Countess notices my shift in attention and smiles sweetly. If you're looking for the hounds, they will be having their morning meal about now. You seem to have a kinship with animals. In fact, Portia tells me you were rather enchanted with one of our security eels. I find them rather enchanting as well, although they are quite unhappy here. Their native climate is deep in the south, icy, dark waters. I recall the way the creature under the bridge had twisted itself into the mud. Well then, here we are. The Countess comes to a halt. We have arrived before a panel in the wall, 3 by 4 times my height. Decent. It's about 10 foot by 6 or 7 foot. It's crafted of smooth wood and all in the colors of rippling honey. Carved with dizzying intricacy is a great tree in the height of maturity. Its winding roots coil around each other and into the floor. Its leaves and fruit are inlaid with jewels, precious stones, and mother of pearl. The panel glitters and glows from every angle. I'm dazzled by its beauty, and barely notice Portia is lagging behind us. I become aware of her presence when she comes to stand beside me. Nervousness is radiating from her in jittery waves. "Portia, if you would be so kind." "Of course." Portia retrieves a ring of keys from her pocket. There are about a dozen, each carved with the same wood as the panel, and each bearing a distinct jewel. One by one she finds their locks in the panel, though I wonder how. Their locations seem completely random. With each key, the roots of the tree start unwinding from each other, pulling free from the floor. When all locks have been turned, the panel folds upon itself on either side like a paper fan. The room beyond is revealed, and my breath catches in my chest. I suck in a breath, tasting greenery and golden pages. There are books everywhere. Books winding up the walls, reaching for the ceiling. A library. Azra told me tales of places like this. I've always wanted to see one for myself. "Do you read, Kitty?" I nod. The Countess tempers her surprise. "Ah, somehow I suspected you might." I follow her farther into the room, and the door closes itself behind us with a rhythmic, mechanical sound. Portia trails at our heels, fidgeting with a ring of keys. "It is a great gift to read. Where I come from, it is shared amongst all citizens, regardless of birth. But woefully uncommon here. I suppose you were taught by a relative? Or your master, perhaps? Am I wrong? They say the two of you are very close." "Milady's in a teasing mood this morning." "Indeed. Ah, my headache is lifting. This way, if you please." There are books of all kinds. Tall, crisp volumes on mathematics, beside broad leather atlases of faraway lands. I had no idea so many books existed. Each one with years, maybe lifetimes of wisdom to share. My fingers itch to run along their spines, but I resist. Books like these are worth more than anything I could afford to barter. "You know, Kitty, you are my guest. If you should like to return here, you need only ask. But for the moment..." The Countess stops before an alcove nestled between shelves. "I would have your undivided attention here." Intrigued, I peer around the bookcase. Below a tiny window cast in its slim ray of daylight is a desk. It's stacked with books, journals, and papers, scrolls tucked in its nooks and drawers. Despite the clutter, everything is carefully organized. Someone's place of study preserved in time. "Kitty, do you know why Dr. Deverak came to this palace?" "Ah, I suppose you would. After all, your master was here for the same purpose. To concoct a cure for the disease." My blood runs cold. As she asked, I give the Countess my full attention. The disease. The Red Plague, as it was called, swept through the city like wildfire. It claimed young and old, frail and strong. There was no way to tell who would be the next to fall. Cases are rare now. I can't remember the last time I saw the telltale red in the whites of someone's eyes. As you know, the Count and I called upon the city to whomever might be of use in this quest. Physicians, scientists, alchemists, witches, yes, even fortune-tellers. All were invited to the palace in hopes that our resources may aid in their research. Whosoever was able to find a cure, the city and palace would both be forever in their debt. Perhaps he was plotting even then. But the doctor accepted our invitation, as did your master Azra. Her gaze shifts to the window. A strange shadow crosses her lovely sunlit face. Curious, I lean in such a way as to get a better view of the window. Odd. It's in exactly the right spot to see the willow tree, which hangs over the fountain in the garden below. While they toiled away in search of a cure, the palace provided everything they might need. The Countess rests her hands atop one of the many texts gathering dust. This desk belonged to the good doctor. I have had its contents examined laboriously. Nothing of consequence has been found. But with such a volume of evidence, something may yet be hiding here. Something I may have overlooked. Perhaps you will have better luck than I in finding it. Her touch lingers on the cover of a well-worn tome. Well then, good luck, Kitty. She draws away, passing me, and perfuming the air with jasmine. Portia follows, and once they've passed the threshold, the panels fold over and into their original shape. I am left in silence, alone with the doctor's desk. I can feel that this desk holds secrets, but where to start? At a glance, there's a stack of books, a leather-bound folio, and scrolls tucked away in a little row of drawers. Instinct says go for the scrolls. I unfurl one of the scrolls. The paper is soft, almost powdery to the touch. It's written in a hurried, fluid scrawl that is nearly impossible to read. At the bottom of the page, and isolated from the dense swath of cursive, is a single letter J. A signature? If it's signed at the bottom, my suspicions may be correct. The letter appears to be dressed at the top. I narrow my eyes at the scribbles on the page, trying to make sense of them. Dear sister? Once I've seen the words, I'm fairly sure of them. The letter is addressed, Dear Sister. A sister? Did he have one? As far as I knew, the doctor was a bachelor of no family to speak of. My mouth twists, uncertain what to make of this new information. I jolt at the sudden ratcheting sound behind me and quickly rewind the scroll, tucking it in my bag. Kitty! The back wall parts, unfolding to reveal Portia. I hope it didn't startle you. There's something going on out in the garden. The Countess is requesting your presence at once. Did you find anything interesting? Clues? I shake my head. Nothing I found has given me anything relevant for the Countess. Portia sidles up next to me, scanning the desk with a curious eye. Well, it'll take a while to go through everything. You can try again later. She surveys the desk, tidying everything I've touched and returning everything to its place. I've got the keys, so if you can find me the next time you want to have a look. But for now, let's go see what all the fuss is about. And I think I'll leave this episode off here, guys. If you guys are enjoying this, do give it a like. Let me know how I'm doing in the comment section. Subscribe if you guys want more. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!